Hello everyone, it's Friday, October 18th. Let's talk PlayStation. This week on Let's Talk PlayStation, I want to jump right into the cover story, right into the title, right into the thumbnail image. I don't want to mislead people. Let's just get right into this bad boy. This past week there was a Spanish website, Spanish forum. This guy hopped on it to post a picture from a Spanish event where they were, showcasing the PlayStation 4, and he had a specific picture showing the PlayStation 4 basically overheating, showing the system actually signaling a red light where, that regular blue light would be, that regular strip of blue light. There was a red light there. And this forum poster in detail talked about how most of the systems at the event performed at low noise level. They weren't very hot. They were actually just a little bit like warm. They were performing actually under what we're used to right now on current consoles in terms of heat and things like that. But one specific PS4 model was closed off in an acrylic case, and it got really, really, really hot, and supposedly showed a red line of death. Like really exaggerated there, of course. And then basically on the screen that the PS4 was connected to, the PS4 was saying, hey, it's, I'm too hot. Apparently, from what this guy's saying, once the acrylic case was open, the PS4 cooled down, and then it immediately started to be fine and started to play again. Now, this specific news item wasn't picked by much major news sites, but a lot of these smaller news sites, and a couple of people have approached me on this specific topic, kind of wondering, like, whoa, what's going on here? A PS4 red light of death? I think this kind of goes into a really nice topic to talk about, because as you could tell by the title, it's BS. Now, right off the bat, Sony's Shuhei Yoshida has already responded to this issue. Somebody on Twitter asked him, is the red line of death on PS4, true? Is it real? And he responded saying, no, that's not true at all. Now, he's responding to this in the sense that that red line does not indicate the PS4 is going to die, but rather that, at least from what I'm seeing, from my standpoint, that red line would indicate that, hey, the PlayStation 4 is too hot. And if you look at the picture, yeah, it's encased in acrylic with almost no sort of ventilation whatsoever. And, like the story is being told from what actually happened at this event in Spain, is that when the door was open, the PS4 was immediately cooled down and it was immediately fine right then and there. This is, of course, what we're being told, and this is how I'm interpreting Shuhei's tweet. But, the PlayStation 4 would obviously have some sort of mechanism to tell people, hey, the system's too hot, cool it down a little bit. The PS3 has this. That's happened to me before. I got a little, gray notification in the top right corner saying, hey, the PS3 system is getting too hot. These things happen, these things are incorporated into the technology. But what happens with this stuff is that news sites will look at this and then they'll put a bad label on it. For the past couple of weeks, while we're getting closer to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, there's a lot of these news stories coming out and a lot of these publications, news sites, admittedly trying to get these clicks by posting these, crazy headlines of saying, oh, PS4 crashed during this demo, PS4 started freezing during this thing, Xbox One started doing this during this presentation. And, something like that did happen. There was another video that came out this week of some guys demonstrating knack on the PS4, and knack was, the frame rate was dropping, and the game just wasn't running, and then the guys were checking the PS4's heat, and they were saying it's, it's overheating and stuff like that. When you get into all this sort of situation of, all these situations of hardware failing or, hardware doing this, you got to all encompass one key thing here. Like, this is test hardware, this isn't the final product. Now, this isn't me just making a video defending Team PlayStation, this is me defending the whole gosh darn scenario. Even when, something happens to Microsoft, or when something happens to Sony, or when something happens to any major hardware maker. The fact of the matter is, a multi-million-dollar company releasing a very giant consumer device that they spent years making is going to have problems, and as history has shown, every company deals with this in one way or another. It's not often, really, that a consumer product launches and it's completely smooth. Sure, it happens, but a lot of the times it doesn't. Now, one bleeding problem with this whole scenario is that some smaller news sites want to make these crazy headlines and get clicks and views and, make these things bigger than they're out to be, like during E3 where Assassin's Creed 4 froze on the PlayStation 4. I mean, is that really something to fuss about? It's all test hardware. It's all test code. These things are absolutely going to happen during the development process, and unfortunately, sometimes it happens out in the public where people are going to see it. But in the video game industry, with all these fanboys and all that, people want to just grasp at it with their hands and just throw it in people's faces, Obviously, there's no way to, stop fanboy wars and things of that nature, because quite frankly, that's part of the culture, and I think it's always going to be here till the very very gosh darn end, because we're always going to fight and butt heads and things like that. But, you know, when you go into this sort of situation of where we've got a new hardware launch, like, these things are going to happen, and there's a reason why major websites like IGN or GameSpot generally don't cover this kind of topic, because this is test hardware, and it's test code, it's test games. These all aren't the final product, and that's why you don't really see a lot of these major stories. Or not, they're not major. That's why there's a reason why you don't see these stories getting published on major websites, and you see them on smaller websites. But then they, you know, get spread to all these other smaller websites, and then people start to see it posted on some of these websites, and people start to believe this misinformation. And, you know, the thing about it is, when a game crashes, or when the new hardware crashes, or when something fails, you know, when something goes wrong, not only is half the time of it fake, but, you know, the other half of it is, you know, it's going to happen. It's absolutely true, but it's going to happen, you know, and that's not representative of what you're going to get in your home come November, or whatever that consumer electronic may be. So to kind of encompass this whole story here, you know, the past week, Sony's been seeing a lot of negative press on smaller websites because of the one NAC crash that it had, and then this PS4 red line of death, which Shuhei Yoshida has already denied that it's not true. Because again, it's a misconception. It's not a red line of death where your PS4 is going to die, but more so a standard user warning of, hey, your system's getting too hot. And it's the fact that, you know, these websites are taking advantage of the story by using these words. And even, I guess you could even say, I myself am taking advantage of it if that's what I'm writing in the title. But at least I'm trying to fix the situation here. However, while we're on the topic of system failures and things going wrong and things like that, it raises one interesting question. Are these things going to have hardware failures and problems and games crashing and things like that? Because, hey, like I just said, like, it is new hardware, it is new games. You know, these things are absolutely capable of happening. I'm not defending Sony or Microsoft for this matter. It's the fact that, you know, these things absolutely could happen. It's just that in the sort of early stages where you see these things break, there's a reason why they're breaking, because they're not ready. But it could absolutely happen when they are ready too. You know, Sony actually has had a long history of, you know, sending out products that, you know, in the first couple of rounds do have a few hardware failures. Like when the PS2 couldn't read certain PS2 systems couldn't read blue discs. There was trouble there. Certain PS3's Blu-ray diodes and you know, the Blu-ray laser diodes were dying within like 6 months. Like, these things definitely do happen. So it raises the question, you know, are we going to see that on PS4 and Xbox One? You know, and I think we just might, you know, it's absolutely a possibility. It's just one of those things you have to deal with if you're an early adopter of hardware. You're taking that risk of, you know, trusting the product's actually going to work as advertised. And, you know, as I said, like this earlier stuff, like, there's a reason why it's there, but it absolutely could happen, you know, and I obviously hope it doesn't. I don't want to get my PS4 and Xbox One and then something happens to it, but trying to spread the positive info out there as to, you know, if you're freaking out about all these bad news stories about PS4s and Xbox Ones crashing, like, it's gonna happen, man. Okay, that was kind of like a little rant. I don't usually do things like that, but it kind of bugs me when, like, these smaller sites just, you know, post headlines like that to get people all riled up and crazy, when quite frankly they don't need to be riled up and crazy. But hey, let's move on to the next news story. Sony Santa Monica has announced that they are pushing out some PS4 games. Well, Sony Santa Monica isn't developing them, but they actually announced them on the PlayStation blog. But 4 games announced. They already exist. They're just coming to platforms that they weren't originally on. So Flow is coming to PS Vita. That's only on PS3, and it's also coming to PS4, excuse me. Sound Shapes, which is on PS3 and PS Vita right now, that's coming to PS4 day one. Look out for that. Excuse me. Flowers coming to PS Vita and PS4. We already knew about that. Originally on PS3. And the Escape Plan, originally on PS Vita, that's coming to PS3 and PS4 as well. So there you go. 4 games that were already part of the PlayStation ecosystem, but now they're expanding to the other PlayStation systems that they weren't on before. And that's cool. These are good games, so it's nice to see them coming to all platforms, so they're reaching all people. If you don't, you know, in particular have one that could play, you know, no matter what PlayStation system you own, you can now play these games in some way, shape, or form. I'm obviously looking forward to the PS4 versions because they're going to be very crisp and beautiful and probably run nice 1080p 60 frames per second, so I'm looking forward to them. So in a sad turn of events, Watch Dogs has been delayed to 2014, and The Crew, but that was already in 2014, so I don't know why they announced that it's delayed when we were already going to be waiting so long. But point being, the Watch Dogs, the Watching Dogs, those were supposed to come out PS4 launch title and PS3 coming up just next month. game's delayed till 2014. Obviously, it's a bummer. I was actually looking really forward to the game, but as you guys should know, if a game needs to be delayed, please absolutely do it, because that means the developer can make the game better. Ubisoft basically gave a PR answer like, look, we were making it, and just, we just need more time. We need more time to polish it. The only thing that strikes me as odd with this story is that the game was a month away, and now for some reason they need upwards to 6 months to keep making it. So that's a lot of extra development time, so I feel like something kind of possibly went wrong with the game, but I don't know. We've already seen so much of the game at this point that I'm not necessarily too worried, but that's delayed. Now moving on to another delay kind of rumor right now, Driveclub. That's a exclusive launch PlayStation 4 title, but there is a rumor circulating from a few anonymous sources saying that game is also going to get delayed. As of recording this right now, it is a rumor, so who knows by the time I finish editing this and uploading it. It would be confirmed or denied, because Sony isn't commenting on the issue, which is usually kind of not like a great sign, but and moving on to our last news story, and I'm so glad we finally know about this. It was bugging the hell out of me as to how you could do this, but we've always known that the PS4 is, the hard drive is upgradable. Just like the PS3, you can put in any 2.5-inch laptop hard drive into the PS4 and replace it with a larger one. But, we've seen pictures of the PS4. We know what it looks like. Where the heck does that hard drive go? How do we actually access that hard drive? Well, now we know. It's actually that top glossy part. That is removable. So these pictures are from Computer Bild, and basically there's a PS4. You can take that glossy panel off, screw off one specific screw, which actually is a really cool looking screw. It's got PlayStation buttons on it. I can't believe Sony went into that kind of detail for one little magical screw to upgrade your hard drive. But and there you go. That's sort of like, you're looking at it right now. That's where you're going to be replacing your hard drive on the PS4. I'm so happy that they're still allowing us to change the hard drive in that thing. That is so awesome. Day one, I'm upgrading that bad boy, so it's cool that we now know how to actually go about doing that. That concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Benecki. Thank you so much for talking with me. I truly, sincerely mean that. And I will see you all next Friday.